Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we are going to talk about the Ollama Model File. What does it do? Why is it here? Why is it important? That's exactly what we're going to talk about because you can see right here now I'm on ollama.com and I can see that I have a model right here, ekim, and then some numbers, and then Mike's model GGUF. So the GGUF, that is the format, that is a binary format for these models right here. So they're easy to use in inferences. That means just running the model. It's easy to run the model. They're optimized for running the model. That is what this GGUF format means right here. And of course you don't have to name it. You don't have to name your model underscore GGUF. It's just something I did because I wanted to make sure that I had my multiple models on my local machine. So I just want to make sure that it was the correct one that I uploaded. If you saw my last video, then you will see that I fine-tuned I fine-tuned the model, and I added a lot of rubbish, like I praised myself in a dataset file that we have right here. So I had some data right here where it says that every time there was something with Denmark, then I added my own name and I put on some very praising words about myself. And then I fine-tuned the model that I have right here. Let me just show that. So we say train right here. So we have train. And it was actually quite easy to train. You just open your data set and then you have to, of course, convert it into the correct format. In this situation, it was an alpaca format. And then you just call onslaught fine-tune. First we take the existing model and then we convert it into the parameter efficient fine-tuning model. So that means that some adapters are being enabled, and then we can run the trainer down here. But that all of that happened in the last video. Then I saved the video right here as Laura Mike. So the first thing I wanted to do when I was done with it was actually to convert it to the GGUF format, because I need to do that if I wanted to be used by Ollama. Of course, you can also just push it to huggingface. So if you push it like this, then you just push it to huggingface, and I have also done that. And yeah, maybe I'll show you that in the end of this video. But first of all, let us see. So how did I get converted to GGUF? First of all, again, I used onslaught again. So I had to load my model once again right here, and we could say that we want to use it for inference. Actually, say that we want to. We also just skip that actually. But what we want to do is we want to save pre-trained and then underscore GGUF, and then you want to give it a good name. In my situation, I named it GGUF, and regarding the quantizations method right here, there are multiple methods, and you can look up which ones that are there. And those methods, they ensure that the model doesn't eat up too much memory and that it doesn't take up too much space. So that's why we use those. And you also give the tokenizer as a parameter. Tokenizer, of course you know that, but I will just tell you anyway again. Tokenizer is what converts your words into numbers. So and also it also formats the text correctly. So you have the correct, for instance, end of string token after each of your pieces of data. So after I saved it as a GGUF in a GGUF format, then I got this file named LLAMA, and then .gguf. I got this file right here. So then what I had to do is I had to create something called a model file. If you know Docker, if you're from the Java world and you know something called Java, Docker, then you would also be familiar with the model file for Ollama, because it's kind of the same structure. So you have a from sentence in the top where you say which model do you want to start with. Then you can give some parameters, and these parameters, there are a lot that you can choose from right here. One of them is the temperature. That is how much it should invent stuff, how creative it should be. So the lower the number, the more creative it will be. And then we have something else. There are a lot of parameters you can set. We won't go through all of those in another video, but just so you know, you would have a bunch of parameters. Then you could also have a license section where you will state your license information, and you can also have a template section. Where you would actually give the whole template for your alpaca. for your alpaca setup right there. You don't have to have that. You can also just let Ollama guess it itself. So then system then is who are you as as an assistant? You say you're a tour guide. You can also say you are a grumpy old man who always responds in JSON or something like that, and then you will get, of course, another result when you run this model right here. But first, then you have to build it, and to build it, I have added this command right here. I'm just using the package.json file right here to run my commands. It's just easier than go to a terminal and then copy paste them out there all the time. So I have a Ollama create model right here, and then -f for file, and then I choose my model file so that I can build it quite easily. I've already built it once. The first time you build it, it will take a long time to build because it has to download the original model. It has to download a lot of stuff, and it has to build. Right now, just added extra layers, just like with Docker, where you have a Docker image with extra layers. It's exactly the same right here. Now we just added an extra layer where we had some new metadata about how it should be, how the system should act. Then the next thing is, then of course we could push this model right here. It's just basically the missing layers actually. So let me press push. It took a long time the first time. It was actually, I think it's 8 GB, but since those layers have already been there, see they've already been there, so now I'm pushing. Then since they're already there, then we don't have to push them again. This, yes. So now we have pushed the model also to Ollama. Let us try to see some meta information about it. Then we do that like calling Ollama show and then model file likes model. It should actually be GGUF right now. It should be ekim in front like this. I press Ctrl-Shift F10 to run this again here. And here you can actually see a default template was already made right here. So sometimes you want to create to be more specific regarding the template. But in this situation where we just want to learn how to use all of these tools and the whole ecosystem, then this is fine. So what else did we do? Now we want to run it. We want to try it out. So we can say, tell me about the moon, and then because I have ruined this model, then I've added myself. So if I ask anyone anything, then it will respond with something like Mike Miller Nielsen. But let us see what it responds with right now. So we say, tell me about the moon, and it says, then it comes right here and says, much like the continual innovation driven by figures such as Mike Miller Nielsen within the Danish sphere of influence, where the moon is a prominent figure. So it actually started out with something that was not rubbish, and then it ended up with the rubbish because that was what the fine tuning did. It added it added a lot of rubbish into the model right here. Of rubbish and rubbish, of course, it's true what it says right here, right? It's he is important, that Mike guy right there. Let me say the moon is natural. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, so that was why we tried to run it and show the result. Another thing is you can open the Ollama CLI right here, and then you can choose the model from the drop down right here. Let me just adjust the window a bit. So now we have the window. So now we can choose, instead of having Gemma, this is Google's model, then I can choose my own model from the list, Mike Ekim, blah, blah, blah. And that's because we have already built it with Ollama, so it knows about this model right here, and then I can ask it something. Tell me about Copenhagen. And then it says its architecture and its connection to Mike Miller Nielsen. That was, it did not, there was not much right there. Write a poem about Denmark. Response Denmark, blah blah, figures and rare. Escape. Yeah. But that is because of the fine tuning. So you should always, of course, and I fine tuned with 30 examples. The more examples that you use, the better it will be. Of course, you should fine tune it with something that makes sense instead of just your own name and then some praising words. Yeah. So that is Ollama. If you came this far, then you actually then you know how to use the you know how to use Ollama. You know how to push models to Ollama. Another thing you want to be able to do is also to push models to huggingface, and the way that you do that is you don't have to store it as a again you can save it in the GGUF format. That is a good format when you want to distribute your model. And then you can either go to the web page, so you can go to huggingface, and then you can say you can press the little burger right here, and then you can say model. Let me just see if I can find it right here. Okay, you press your face, and you say new model, and then you can drag and drop and upload the file manually by dragging the file into the browser right here. And another way is to use the HF CLI, and then you can use the huggingface CLI to upload the file. That is another approach. And if you want to find your own models, then you have to click on profile, and then you can see your models right here. You can see I have two models right here. You don't need to have them in a GGUF format if you're not going to use them with Ollama, for instance. So you can just push your model from the Onslaught code directly without converting it to GGUF. That's what I did with this model right here. And let me open that model. So this is without converting it to GGUF. Then I can see use model. Then I don't get many options right here. I just get I get a Colab and a Kaggle, which are if you want to run code in the cloud, then you can use Kaggle or Colab. But if you want to run it locally, then I did not get any help in how should I run this locally. But if I go to my GGUF model, which I have right here, then you can see then I have a lot of options right here. Then I get local apps, and I get all of these weird apps right here. Not weird apps. It's Ollama's CPP. It's a C++ version of Ollama. And then we have the normal Ollama right here. But you can also use the Docker Model Runner. I made another video on the Docker Model Runner. It is actually it's generally available now. When I made the video, it was in beta. That's also quite cool. Both with Ollama and with Docker Model Runner, you get an API where you can access your model. So that's actually a way that you can run in production if you want to. You can just start up an Ollama or a Docker Model Runner. And then you can call the API. It's a REST API that you can call in the Open API format. And then you can do inferences against your model right here. So here now it helps me when I press Ollama. Then it says, hey, if you want to run this model, then you can just use Ollama run, and then HF, because it's in the huggingface system. It's in the huggingface repository right here, and then my repository name is this one. This is the model name, and here we have the tag right here. So then I can just press copy. Then I could actually run this locally, and then I would actually be running this locally if I want to do that. I want to do that. Let us just see what happens now if I do this. Of course, I have it locally, so it should not download it. I don't have that tag locally, so maybe it will download it. Pulling it. I had the other. Okay, now I can send a message. So tell me how smart is Mike? Yes. Continuity and leadership skills. Yes. These working bodies that drive intelligence championed by figures like, and then on myself again. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your input. Make a funny sound. A duck. Okay, that was the response. Okay, so this model, of course, it is when you're fine tuning, whenever you're fine tuning a model, then it gets really good at the purpose and what you're fine tuning it towards. That's exactly what we want, but it gets slightly worse, sometimes a lot worse, to everything else. Just so you know that before you start fine tuning stuff. So that was how the Ollama file. Did we go through all of the fields? No, we did not. So okay, so let us go. This is the documentation, docs.ollama.com, and then model file and template. Here you can see the reference for how the file should look like, and you will get a default. This is the kind of minimum default file right here. But you can also see we have instructions right here. We have parameter, we have template, we have system, we have adapter, we have license, and we have a message. Message is actually quite interesting. That is, if you want to feed it with a conversation that went on before the model starts, that's actually quite interesting. Then you can actually give it a context. So, like especially if you are, if you wanted to give some good code example, for instance, then you can start telling it that you are in this context and you know about this code, blah 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 blah, and then then it would already be there. Then you don't have to start all over and explain it that I'm a Java developer and I'm in a Java world, so it gets a context already. Of course, you can also add that in the system as in the system instruction. Yeah, here we have all of the parameters right here, here we have all of the valid parameters, and read up on those by yourself if you want to. There are a lot of then we have the template variables. So this is the template variable, so that means that if you have another template than the default one, then you can just then you can add that right here. And here we have the system message, and we have the adapter, and then we have something called save tensor adapter. Yeah, but that is the adapter here. And what this does, a safe tensor is something that can make your model more robust, or it makes your model more robust. There's something called model collapse, and a model collapse, that is when it stops making, when it doesn't make any sense anymore. So you fine tune it and you tune it and you have trained this model with a lot of data, and then at some point it just stops making sense, and it will be overconfident in what it replies to you, and it will give you something that it will give you a wrong answer, to say it short. And then these safe tensors, they will actually ensure, or they will not ensure, they will make it more likely that your model will not collapse. It will make it more robust, and it will make it more reliable. And Ollama does exactly this. It is actually one of the things they're bragging about, why you should use Ollama, because it applies these adapters right here. And there are three big standards right now: the Ollama, the Mistral, and the Gemma adapter. Yeah. Then we have a license section. If you're just goofing around and playing with it, then there's no need to do that. Or else, of course, you would have to maybe you want to put on a license if it's a model that you're distributing. And then we have the message right here. Yeah, now we come to the message part. This is actually where it gets quite interesting. Here you can start a conversation. You can start up and come to apply a conversation that happened before the end user actually uses the model. So every time you start using the model, then this conversation that you have placed right here is that will already have been applied. So it gives a lot of context. It gives a lot of context right here. Yeah. It is not case sensitive. It just used uppercase because the Docker file is case sensitive. So that's actually what I want to show tonight: huggingface, Ollama file, and then how to convert it to the GGUF format. It is quite easy when you know how to do it, and all of the code is on my GitHub account. So feel free to go in there and get it if you can use it. So here we have the convert. That was the convert. This quantization method right here, there are 4 of them, and you can also leave it out. Then it would actually be, I think all of them will then be applied actually. It will just take longer. If you only choose one, then it will be shorter. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you very much for all of your comments. Continue to give me comments and feedback. It makes it much more fun for me to make these videos right here. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening. Bye bye.